Thank you very much for having me, Ludmila, and thank you to Geopost. And I want to thank everyone here and Gunnar, obviously, including for starting Geopost in Ukrainian. I think it's going to have a very good contribution in fighting disinformation, Russian propaganda in our region. So this is a very great initiative, and I'm happy to be here with you. 2024 has been a very busy year for journalists in Kosovo. A lot of things have happened. We've had a lot of events going on. Most of them are still linked to what happens in the north of Kosovo, but I think we also had very important events in Pristina and elsewhere in Kosovo. Journalists in Kosovo were able to report on very important issues about important decisions that were taken by the government of Kosovo and how they affect the lives of everyday people. There was not like a single, let's say, event or occasion which had this year coming. So it's been a series of events. Unfortunately, this was a year where some killings of women happened. So it was, in a sense, a sad year as well. But I think that Kosovo journalists have done their best of the work, and that's why we also awarded plenty of them just at the end of this year about the very important work they do. So this award was part of a fellowship in which I was chosen to participate in the US. I was there for 9 years in October and September, October, and some days of November. This is a World Press Institute fellowship, which brings 10 journalists from different countries. One of the participants was from Ukraine. It brings 10 journalists to experience America, and we experienced the elections in US as there. We discussed a lot of AI, about how artificial intelligence is going to impact the work of journalists and the media in the future, how we should embrace and basically take the best out of AI. And the award that I won is an honorary award, which is named after the founder of this fellowship, Harry Morgan. Obviously, it means a lot to me, not personally, but because of Kosovo as a country, because we're like 10 different countries, and basically the award was given to someone from Kosovo. And it was the first time ever that a journalist from Kosovo won this fellowship in the 60 years of its operation. So it was a very proud moment for me. Well, it has a lot of challenges. Freedom of speech, freedom of media are guaranteed by Kosovo constitutions. We do have in place very good laws the constitution itself basically protects the freedom of speech and freedom of media in Kosovo, but it comes with a lot of challenges. We've seen during this year as well a lot of attempts by Kosovo government to suppress this freedom of speech and freedom of media. Unfortunately, the Association of Journalists of Kosovo constantly monitors and exposes different attacks, most of them obviously being verbal attacks and coming online in forms of harassment and derogatory language against journalists. So it has been compromised as a value because the government doesn't like the reporting of Kosovan media, and journalists, and especially women journalists here in Kosovo, are the best of investigative journalists. They did bring to light a few of scandals of corruption in which allegedly this government was involved, and that's why we have this campaign to discredit journalists, which is very bad. Kosovo unfortunately dropped 19 places in the rankings of Reporters Without Borders this year, and it was also because of the attempt last year of Kosovo government to shut down Kosovo's biggest channel, Klan Kosova. So our call to the government is to allow media and journalists to do their work freely, without fear and without intimidation of the work they do, because this is guaranteed by our constitution. We are always there for journalists. We have hundreds of members that are part of the Association of Journalists of Kosovo from different communities. We do a lot of trainings with them because we want to raise the capacity, especially of young journalists, on different topics and how to handle these topics responsibly. But safety is a very great concern of our organization. As we know, in 2023 there was a lot of attacks, physical attacks in the north of Kosovo. We have secured vests, helmets for journalists in order for them to be able to report from areas that are seemed dangerous. So we take care, we try to take care of the security and safety of journalists. We do offer, with the help of OSCE mission in Kosovo, we do help journalists and offer free legal aid. So a lawyer would help them when they are sued in the courts or they have an issue with the courts. Our lawyer helps them bring those cases to the court. So we would be there for journalists in all sorts of capacities if they need our help. So by organizing, we have a lot of trainings in which we give opportunities to young journalists to write about different topics. And this year we've done a lot of projects with UN Women as well, about gender sensitive reporting. Also, we engage different communities, especially those from Roma, Ashkali, and Egyptian. And we discuss topics that have to do with the marginalized communities, which I mentioned. So a lot of services that we give to our members, and we're happy to be able basically to support them because we are supported by the international community in Kosovo. I mean, the war in Ukraine has changed the world basically since the full-scale invasion started back in February 2022, and it has also changed the way that journalists are able to safely do their work in Ukraine and around Ukraine. I think it has come to attention of journalists in the region, obviously to do more of their jobs in fact-checking and basically fighting Russian propaganda. So what we've seen since day one of the invasion is that the Kremlin sponsored media have been trying to expand their presence in the region. We know that RT has opened an office in the TV station in Belgrade, Serbia, and they are trying to influence the whole region. And as you know, most of the Balkans language is the same in terms of speaking Serbian, Croatian, Bosnian, Montenegrin. So they are trying to have this influence, and I think that journalists in the region are aware and are trying to do their best to fight this disinformation that comes from media and channels that are sponsored by the Russian state. And obviously for us in Kosovo, it's very unique to have you guys as Ukrainian journalists here. You have been giving a lot of contribution in fighting this propaganda, and just the fact that you've been able to live safely in Kosovo for this year, it's been very special to us, to Kosovo, this very special connection and bond that Kosovo now has with Ukraine in us trying to basically help in any way we can for the war to finish and for Ukraine to be free. And we've been doing this in the media sphere as well. We've had plenty of activities throughout the year. We've marked May 3rd, International Press Freedom Day, with an exhibition of cartoons about media freedom, which was held at the Kosovo Museum, from cartoons from 6 different countries of Western Balkans. And we've done we finished by awarding, best journalists in different topics. But I think that there was one new thing that happened today, which was like a British embassy-sponsored program in which we held an exchange visit with journalists from Northern Ireland. Basically, 10 Northern Ireland journalists went in Kosovo in August, and 10 Kosovo journalists. We visited Belfast and Derry in Northern Ireland in September. And this is a topic about reporting about the past. Sensitive conflict, which you guys, when you go back to Ukraine, will have to deal with. And I thought that this was an amazing experience and opportunity for journalists from Kosovo to learn more about the conflict in Northern Ireland, which finished in '98, and for them basically to be able to see what happened in Kosovo in '98, '99. And as a result of that, we produced 10 articles which were co-authored by one journalist from Kosovo and one from Northern Ireland, and they were able to work together to bring perspectives from both countries about how conflicts affects people and what's the role of journalism, because this was part of a peace journalism project. What's the role of journalists basically to be able to report in a professional manner about conflicts for your own country. So I think this is something that the Ukrainian journalists also can learn from when they go back and have to report about what happened during the war there. Of course, I mean, it's so much easier to do journalism in these times of there's a revolution. Obviously, you can do so much with just a telephone, and one journalist can be a journalist and an editor and the camera operator itself, and that's why we also engage in mobile journalism in different trainings and courses and workshops with our young journalists and others about doing mobile journalism. We've seen cases of a BBC reporter doing her live shots with a telephone from Netherlands. So I think, no, I mean, there are some risks, but we should look at the benefits. So the benefits are huge because you can basically be in any part of the world and be able to go live and to write and send and edit reports with just one device. So it used to be, obviously, and it's very useful when it's breaking news, when something is happening, when you don't have really the time to sit down and do editing and other stuff. So I think there are so many benefits which everyone should use basically to do this mobile digital journalism. Well, I mean, I think there's a crisis in trust all around the world. Basically, a lot of people are tending to get away from the traditional media and not necessarily believing what they write because of too many different factors, and some of them has to do with the fact that you have so many Instagram, Facebook pages which are not media but pretend to be media by publishing photos or videos which would in the first instance look like are being made by professional journalists, and which are not the case, and they are done to spread disinformation and to gain financially and economically. So I think the way for media to basically bring the trust is for the biggest ones and it's just to continue the fight to be factual, to be accurate, not to spread disinformation, not to go after clickbaits, after likes, after comments, but basically just have the content. I mean, because when there is a good content, when there is an exclusive or like an in-depth investigation, people will watch it, people will attend it. So obviously for traditional media, there's this challenge of keeping up with the social media, and you can not only rely on doing a TV story, but you obviously have to work on putting the same story in different manners in Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, because so many millions and millions of young people throughout the world, including here in Kosovo, would only see things on TikTok. So I think this media, the good content they make, they have to make sure that they put it in a very attractive, short way to get the attention of young people in the newest channels of social media. Well, I think I had the chance to explain this in US during my fellowship. One of the reasons why I got into journalism was the war in Kosovo. Basically, I was only 13 years old as a child refugee in Kosovo, having to flee from my country during the war and having to become a refugee in the neighboring North Macedonia. From that time, I've always been very much interested into news and like kind of conflicts. And if I would be any journalist, I would be anyone during the Kosovo War. So what I would like to be like a senior journalist that was reporting here in 98, 99, and I can have a name, a photographer, Wade Goddard, which we had the honor to have him this year in Kosovo. He's a famous photographer from New Zealand who lives in Croatia. He worked at the time for New York Times and Reuters, and he did some of the most amazing pictures during the war, and he basically helped, just like with other journalists, give the sense to the world what was happening in Kosovo, the killing of thousands of civilians and the atrocities that were being done by the Serbia state in Kosovo. Because of his and other photos and reports, the world was able to basically intervene and stop the war in Kosovo. So yeah, I would be a journalist during Kosovo War in 98, 99.